What's going on, world? Peace and blessings. Appreciate you tuning in today. Hope everyone's having a safe and blessed day. Hope everyone's staying quarantined, practicing your social distancing, and honestly just staying inside. It sucks right now. As you know, we are under a global pandemic against the invisible enemy, COVID-19, aka coronavirus. And the whole world is shut down on standstill, which is the reason that you're tuning in to me right now watching. Appreciate it, though. So obviously this is something that the world has never seen before on this scale and capacity all one time. We're facing unprecedented times. There's no blueprint for this. This is something that literally is a case study on a daily basis in which history will judge us on from time to come. And one thing I've really sat back and kind of observed during this time is just how it's very interesting how people who are generally very smart, rational, fair, logical people all can become under stress and uncertainty, just like chickens with a head cut off. People stop thinking with logic and start thinking with emotion. And when you do that, you don't have a full, clear mind and perspective of what's going on. You saw when everything starts shutting down here, right? Everyone's just ready to order grocery stores and stuff like that, right? Going crazy, acting like it's Y2K and Hunger Games, fighting for toilet paper and paper towels. I saw someone literally got stabbed in the neck apparently over some paper towels. Crazy. And it's also capitalism as well, interesting enough as well. Now, again, people, I feel like in large gatherings and in times of uncertainty become stupid. You saw down in spring break, even though with federal restrictions and guidelines and stuff like that of social distancing and not gathering in large areas, people were still at the beaches and stuff and everything like that, still at the bars and clubs and just completely ignoring these federal restrictions. And I blame people for being dumb, but also blame the local officials and government. It's their job to protect people from themselves. People are dumb. You should have people out there. You knew spring break was coming up. You should have shut that down. You should have shut the hotels down, shut the beaches down, shut the clubs and bars down. It was easy to prevent that. And who knows how many more cases and stuff like that may have happened and the virus was transmitted because due to a lack of bureaucracy. Again, it's leadership, honestly. And from a local, state and federal level, it's been very shaky through this whole entire process. Now, I'll keep in mind as well that, again, this is uncharted territory, that there's no real template and blueprint for this, but nevertheless, though, it's been kind of crazy. And again, people at times are getting caught up so much with emotion, so much misinformation out there. It seems like right now everyone's a conspiracy theorist. Everybody got a cousin or a friend or a plug that works for the CIA or they work for the CDC or the Pentagon and they got some inside information about what's happening. And it's no, y'all don't. Y'all capping. I was saying, no one has consistent, real information on this because we don't know. Just every day, this new information is coming in. This is nothing that we've had a blueprint for. I know a lot of different conspiracies and things that may suggest what's going on right now, but nothing has been proven with actual certainty and supporting details to back it up. So with that being said, it's we keep spreading so much misinformation out here. Just cause people to be more confused, cause more anxiety, and honestly, a lot of people are easier controlled under fear. And again, with people, it's in numbers and stuff like that. You'll look at perspective, right? Things oftentimes can be very misleading. You see numbers and stats, right? For example, the United States right now is number one in the world in confirmed cases, right? And people saw that and said, oh, United States out of control. Oh, what's going on here? We're not handling it right? And so look, you look at the number 2 and 3 countries, which are Spain and Italy. By the way, China, which has over 1 billion people, they're capping a line with the numbers. I'll get to that later. But you look at Spain and Italy, for perspective, right? The United States has a population of over 330 million people. Spain has a population of 46 million people. Italy has a population of over 60 million people. So the United States has triple the population. Of course we're going to have more confirmed cases here. However, Italy and Spain both have combined more total deaths than the United States. So per capita and by proportion size, those countries are doing drastically worse than we are. It's maybe 1 out of 3 people are dying of the virus there, whereas maybe 1 out of 80 people here are dying of the virus, right? I don't know those numbers to be exact, but that's kind of perception. That's basically what's happening. So it's not the same. So you see numbers, you got to look at it through different light and kind of break it down and look for the qualitative aspect as well, not just the quantitative number side to it. So to get a full perspective of it, right? And there's so much misinformation out there. It's been interesting to see how people our reliance on the government, right? How people have been critical of our federal government in our response. And people were saying, all right, where are the masks? Where are the tests? Where are the ventilators? Where are the hospital beds? Where's the healthcare aspect to it, right? And it's interesting because many various different things people want right now is socialism. Um, and it's funny because you have someone like Bernie Sanders, whose whole campaign is socialism, and he's been rejected by us as a nation. And yet here we are right now embracing socialism, something where the government controls basically all aspects of life and society and commerce, and is helping people out. That's socialism, and interesting how we embrace it in times of crisis and how it works out suddenly. That's been interesting. Also, as well, the government, people need to realize that, like, in other nations and other governments, they can do stuff differently. For example, we see that, like, there's images and videos of other countries in which the government has completely shut everything down. They're sanitizing all the buildings and everything, right? They're washing all the streets. I mean, they're doing all this stuff, right? And people see and say, "Oh, why isn't that happening here? We're not following through. It's lack leadership." It's like, yo, you gotta understand as well, for perspective, sometimes those countries are like communist dictator nations where it's easier to control people. For example, like in China, it's a communist nation where the government controls literally like every aspect of your life. It's easier to control people and tell people you're not coming outside. You just shut everything down. Here in America, this is a democracy. Like, for that to happen, martial law has to get imposed. Like, yo, like, it's not that simple. We need to keep that in mind sometimes. We're comparing apple to oranges. It's false equivalencies. And we do that too often with this whole situation. We're comparing things that aren't necessarily the same thing and just expecting it to be the same here. Like, I see how everyone as well, like in this time of our government, well, the stimulus check coming out, and with Congress, like this like $1,200, which everyone's supposed to get. Initially, people act as if like this was something like Trump created himself, and this was some like blood money or like a payoff money somehow, some way. Like, oh, I'm not taking it. Trump's just doing this just to get votes. That's all this is. Like, no, this is actually something that Congress, through the House and Senate, both Democrats and Republicans, have agreed to this, because in times of crisis, politicians are supposed to put politics to the side and come together for bipartisan support and help the American people, the people that they're elected by, that they're supposed to serve. What's supposed to happen? I think we just had such an unorthodox and chaotic past 4 years of this presidency that we're just not used to seeing some sense of normalcy during the time, and that's what's happening. So very interesting to see that as well. China. So I want to start by saying China's not our ally. China is a communist nation that has consistently tried to undermine United States national security and cybersecurity. They try to hack our intellectual property. They try to destabilize our economy. Although we have a lot of stuff that's made by China, they're not our friends. Like, yo, they're not our allies. So the fact that we've kind of fallen to a lot of communist propaganda, like for example in China, they're pushing this conspiracy saying that the coronavirus started in America. They're literally calling it the American coronavirus there. That their government officials and people in media and stuff like that are pushing this. And so we had Trump call it the Chinese virus, which was a response to that. People got offended by it. People thought it was insensitive. And granted, I do understand how, especially here in America, it can create a negative connotation. People of Chinese or Asian descent, right? For sure. At the same time, I see some selective anger to it, because for years, we've had these different viruses that supposedly come out of Africa, such as the Ebola virus, West Nile virus, Zika virus, right? And we call these Africanized names and stuff like that, and that's okay, even though those brought a negative connotation. Especially the Ebola virus recently, like there are a lot of Africans who got a lot of racial discrimination based off of that. So like for people, like I think two wrongs don't make a right, but it's like I don't understand how like you can call these African names and that's okay, but then call it the Chinese virus because that's where it originated from, and that's a problem. And it's like, yo, like it's you gotta be consistent about where your anger's at, right? So that's one thing I wish for people. I've kind of been intrigued about how we pick and choose when to get offended. Also, China as well, although they've been trying to help stuff out with some a lot of equipment and test kits around the world, a lot of it is faulty. Over 85% of it has like failed. They're not real, like legit. So it's kind of keep in mind, don't fall for communist propaganda. And it's kind of like, you got to keep your emotions in check and start thinking with logic. Again, those numbers, stuff like that for China as well. They withheld a lot of information when it's initially outbroke there. They didn't give information to the other doctors around the world and everything. They specifically silenced their doctors from speaking out and whistleblowing and talking about this information. So they haven't been very transparent at all. So that's why I don't trust their numbers or anything either, because you got 1 billion people in that country, and you're telling me somehow, some way that you have like less than countries with only 40 million people in terms of like infected people and deaths. Like, yo, it don't add up. So it's like, yo, you gotta keep an open mind with certain various aspects, right? As a whole, though, yo, like you understand this is a very important time right now in which you can get in tune with yourself. Like a lot of people don't have hobbies. A lot of people don't have things they practice and do. Be with your family. learn more. Like, we're so slaves to this society of having to go out, having to be at bars and clubs and drink and attention and post stuff and go out and all that, man. It's like, yo, step back for a second. Like, I'm bored just like anyone else, right? I'd rather go outside and everything. But I do understand as well, this is a very unique opportunity to kind of fall back and get a real full perspective of what's going on. So all I'm saying is, like, yo, don't have your emotions, energy drained and finessed and manipulated during this time. Stay astute to what's happening right now. Ask questions as well. Be balanced. Look at the various resources. Stop being drained about it. And be well connected. Until next time, stay tuned. Peace.